Oh, you caught me unawares while I was smelling this rose. Speaking of roses, today I'm going to talk about my favorite rose perfumes. Sorry if the video quality is not ideal. I'm getting a new lens soon, but for now I have to use the front-facing camera on my phone, so it may not be great. So, rose perfumes. This is perfect for me because I'm wearing my rose dress today and I'm wearing a rosy makeup look. So rose scents, they are very personal. Rose can have a very divisive scent profile. Some people love it, some people hate it. So I'm just going to tell you my favorites, tell you why they're my favorites, and you can let me know if you think I am terribly wrong or right. Okay, let's get started. Any video about rose perfumes would not be complete without the queen of rose perfumes, Delina, and the Delina line. I don't want to put too much effort into talking about them because there's so many videos that talk about Delina already, but I do just want to say that Delina and the Flankers are probably my favorite rose perfumes of all time. So Delina, the lychee, and the rose makes a beautiful, sweet, sugary, slightly fresh, just absolutely divine rose. Some say it has like a slightly old-fashioned profile, like a 1950s bathroom, but I actually quite like this. Absolutely beautiful. Same thing with La Rosee. La Rosee is more of like a watery rose scent. Smells like a wave, a crystal clear wave of roses. But my absolute favorite is Delina Exclusive. I have the bottle, but it's empty. I just bought an empty bottle because I love the bottle, but you can still smell it. Oh, it's so nice. I also have a couple samples. And Delina Exclusive is much more of a powdery rose. The vanilla is a lot more prevalent. It has like an ambery, vanillic dry down. I can see why it would also be a bit divisive. The first time I smelled it, it was my favorite scent in the world, and then something happened, and suddenly I hated it. But then a few months later, I was back to loving it again, and now it's back to being my favorite scent. So I don't know why that happened, if it was me, or, well, I guess it obviously was me. But anyway, the powderiness in this, to me, is extremely addictive. It almost feels like visceral, like physical, like I feel like I'm literally breathing in powder. So I can see why some people might not like that. But for me, it's just absolutely exquisite, and someday I'm going to get an actual bottle of it if I could ever afford it. In the meantime, I do have the Julianna's perfume dupe, Inner Beauty Exclusive. It's very, very close. The only thing is, it to me smells a little more green, a little more fresh. The vanillic powderiness is less obvious. So what I actually like to do is combine it with this scent, which is Morn to Dusk by Eau de Italy. I think you could use any kind of powdery vanilla scent to add that element to it. And together, they don't smell exactly like Delina Exclusive, but they smell close enough for what I'm going for. Why does the light suddenly look so intense? So that's my favorite rose scent. It's probably most people's favorite rose scent, one of the Delinas. But I have others I want to talk about. On the whole, I have very very basic girl scent taste. So I really want to like these complex, interesting, smoky, cool girl scents, but I really like sweet vanilla scents and like floral scents. So this one may not be for cool people, but this is a scent I really like, and it's a rose scent, and it is Gia by Tocca. She is maybe not the most sophisticated, but she's really pretty, and she's not expensive. This is a citrus rose scent. It's just really pretty. The citrus is tangerine, and it has pink pepper, and that first note, the warm tangerine, gives it this depth, and the pink pepper gives it a little bit of a bounce in its step, and then it rounds out into this very edible rose. I think of it like a rose misted with tangerine juice. And I don't always love citrus. I generally don't really like it, but I like it in combination with things when it provides balance, and for me, the citrus really balances out the rose really well. This is a fun, young, fresh rose scent, and it has vanilla in the base, which for me is kind of mandatory. Like, I need some vanilla in most scents, and while it may be a bit like too young, like a little juvenile for me, I guess, in the top notes and the middle notes, that warm ambery base really kind of makes it more interesting and keeps me craving more. So it's a fun daytime casual scent, beach, out with friends, going to the mall, whatever. I like it a lot. And this perfumer, I don't see people talking about them very much, maybe because they're like not very, like, they're not niche and they may not be the most complex scents, but they have a couple scents that I really love, including one of my favorites, which is Florence, which I'll talk about if I do a white florals video. Stop shining on me. Ow. Next. This is another one that isn't going to be a surprise to anybody. This is Initio Atomic Rose. Anybody who talks about rose is going to talk about Atomic Rose and Delina. But you have to mention it because it's so good. And in some ways it has some similarities in the notes to Gia. It has pink pepper in the top, it has citruses, it has vanilla in the base, but they actually smell completely different. This is like Gia's grown-up, sophisticated, mature, and super cool older cousin. This is a rose for a night out. It has jasmine in it, which gives it this like sophisticated twist. And unlike in Gia, the pink pepper doesn't really dry down off the top. It just really kind of gets integrated with the rose. It's like a peppered rose. And I've heard it compared to Delina and Delina Exclusive, but for me it is quite different. It's a little bit more mature, rounded, deep, and it has more of a vanillic base. Delina Exclusive is more powdery, but this is more like sophisticated, dark vanilla. I'd say it's more powdery than Delina, but a lot less powdery than Delina Exclusive. It also lacks that sweet lychee note that gives Delina like an almost tropical feel. And there's an almost like oudiness to the rose. I mean, Delina Exclusive has oud in it, but there's something about the deep sweetness to this rose that gives it almost a Middle Eastern vibe. It's really nice. I wore it to my sister's wedding. Although, despite all of that, I think I still prefer Delina Exclusive. It's just, I don't know, it just does something to my brain. And I think maybe Atomic Rose is a little less sweet than I like because I'm a very basic human female. Okay, here's one I don't hear people talking about a lot, and it comes from one of my favorite brands. It is Eau d'Italie, and the scent is Rosa Greta. Behold. This is a fresh, light rose scent that smells like walking through a garden. It's a light, fluffy, musky rose. It smells like walking through a garden, but on a misty morning, where the mist is sort of diffusing the scent of the flowers. It's a bit green, which I like because it keeps it from being too heady, but it still has this ambery sweetness to it that gives it a round voluptuousness. I don't get a lot of the white tea that's in the opening, except that I think that it is doing something to cut through that heaviness that rose sometimes has, and that might be what's making it green. It's very addictive. I want to keep smelling my hand to get that little bit of sweetness at the base. It's just sweet enough to keep you wanting to come. It's just sweet enough to keep you wanting to come back to smell more. It's an addictive, fresh, misty rose, and I would love to get a full bottle someday. There's a lot of Eau d'Italie scents I want to get full bottles of. Okay, here's another one that people don't talk about a lot. Maybe because I'm the only one who likes it? Is it not good? I think it's discontinued too, which doesn't help. I only have the little travel spray of it, but this is Valentino Donna Rosa Verde. This is a green rose, as you could probably tell from the name. It is light, it is fresh, it is refreshing. I think it's even pretty unisex, maybe mostly on the opening, but I mean, obviously you can wear whatever you want, but the opening is, I could see some people might think it is somewhat like cleaning spray-esque, And I think that's because of the citruses. That bergamot smells kind of very lemony. But that goes away pretty quickly. And then under that, you just get this aromatic, almost herbally green rose. And those aromatic notes, the tea, the mate, really make it addictive and make it toothsome. And I don't really like citrus. The citrus doesn't last long at all. It's just enough to kind of cut through the rose, and it brightens it up a bit. I also don't normally like tea scents, but for me this one is just interesting enough, and it isn't tea focused. The tea is just there to add depth and character to the rose. My eyes. It's all over my face. So I like this one. I think it's a bit divisive. I know my husband doesn't really like it, even though he's a big Valentino scent person, but my eyes. It's really, I don't know, I really like it, and I think the bottle is really pretty too. Next one I can't really talk about in too much detail because I don't have it, and I don't have a sample. I wish I did, but it's one of my favorites. It is Mind Games Grand Master. I love this scent. It's a coffee rose scent. Almost smells a bit chocolatey to me, like a chocolatey coffee rose. It is magnificent, and I think it is perfectly balanced between the rose and the coffee. The coffee isn't too strong. It doesn't smell too bitter. The sweetness from the rose mellows it out, and the rose does also not smell too strong. And it's expensive, but I think it's really glorious. It's also very unisex. I would say it's one of my favorite Mind Game scents, but I really love all of their scents. I don't think I could choose a favorite, but it's up there. I think it would be a beautiful scent for like a night out, for like a date, but you could also wear it in a more casual setting as well. I think more of a daytime setting. I think it would just really shine at night at like a formal occasion. I do think the coffee is somewhat more prominent than the rose in this scent, but that's not bad for me. I like that. Okay, the next one, this one, I think this one also might be somewhat divisive. It is powerful. It is strong. It is a powerhouse. Bon Parfumeur. I'm sorry. 106. This is a rose vanilla scent. I only have this little guy of it, but it's so powerful that you really don't need very much. I almost bought a full bottle. I tried it first in Italy, and I didn't have enough suitcase space because I stupidly only brought a little carry-on bag. But I got this little one, and it turns out I didn't really need more because it's strong. It smells like you are on a luxurious bed, draped with velvets and silks, dappled with rose petals. You are eating syrupy, sugared plums, while a Mediterranean night breeze wafts in through the open veranda. That's what this smells like. It has pink pepper in the opening, but I don't sense it too much, except that I do think there's like a spiciness to this rose. The middle notes are rose and davana, and then the base notes vanilla and musk. At least according to Fragrantica, I think that musk isn't listed in the official notes, but there is definitely a muskiness to it. The Turkish rose in this has this beautiful jammy sweetness. It's sugared, but still manages to have a greenness in it, I think from the davana. To me, it's not too heavy, though I could see how for some it might be too heavy, too headachy. But for me, this really shines and becomes super powerful in the middle notes and the dry down. It starts to really pack a powerful punch. It's like a gooey blob of jammy, vanillic, dripping, syrupy rose, lightened with a little musk and spice. So it's very strong. I accidentally spilled a bunch on my hand earlier today when I was like testing things out, and it was a lot. I would recommend just using a little. This is the oil, by the way. You only need a little bit, and it does what it needs to do. But I really like this. Now, a scent that to me is in the same family as this is another one that I really like, but is also a bit divisive. This is Kayali Sweet Diamond Pink Pepper 25. This is a jammy, sweet, heavy, cloying rose. This is not kidding around, but there's something in this that is addictive to me, and that gets its claws, thorns, if you will, into my brain. I just need to have more. The first time I smelled it, I was like, oh my god, I need this. And I saved up and I bought it. And then a few months later, I was like, oh, this smells like rotting garbage. Why did I get this? It was so heavy and so strong. But that was the same time that I started to not like the smell of Delina Exclusive. I think there was something happening with my brain or my nose at that time, those couple of months, because suddenly everything I loved, I started to hate. But after a couple of months, then I smelled it again and I was like, oh, no, I still love this. But that being said, I think that if you do wear this in the heat, or if you wear too much of it, it could be too much and it could start to develop that like rotting scent. So don't overuse it and use it in the right weather. I think in cool weather, this is cozy, warm, luxurious rose. In the heat, it might be a bit much. And the dry down is really nice. It's like a chewy sandalwood, if that makes sense. Like a musky, yummy sandalwood and vanilla. I don't know. The bottle's also really pretty. The next one I'm just going to mention briefly because I think this is also discontinued. This is Penhaligon's Elisabethan Rose, and the one I have here is the older formulation, and I think this one's gone. I think they have a new formulation. I haven't tried the new one, but I really like this one because it's just a very pretty, straightforward, fresh rose scent. It smells like being in a garden and smelling a rose. It reminds me of being a child. My father planted a rose bush of pink roses called Queen Elizabeth roses outside my window, and this kind of brings me back to that. It's like you're in a garden near a rose bush. It's sweet, it's floral, but it's diffuse. I could see how it might be a little old-fashioned. Maybe that's why they discontinued it. It's not the most modern rose, but it is very pretty. It's a little soapy. And if you want just a really nice, clear, fresh rose, this is a really pretty one. It smells even stronger than a real rose, I guess. Speaking of roses in this category, fresh roses, another one that I really like is Rose Morning by Fresh. This is fluffy, lovely, soft, slightly powdered rose. It's supposed to be a somewhat green scent. I don't really get that. It's more like a soft musk cloud filled with rose petals. Really pretty. I don't have a bottle of it, but maybe someday. A third rose in this category that I really like is Dolce&Gabbana Velvet Rose. I have this guy here. I like this one a lot. I don't think it's not one of my top favorites, but it is very nice. It is fresh. I wouldn't say it's exactly photorealistic. It's more like light and floaty, like smelling a rose bush on the breeze in a garden. It has lily in the opening, which I think is the thing that to me keeps it from being a favorite. It's just a little bit much in the opening, but as it starts to dissipate, it becomes more of a simple, nice, pleasant rose. It's like being in a room where there's a bouquet of roses, and the room is draped in soft velvet, rather than the sort of luxurious velvet rose of this scent. This is a lot more soapy and almost a little more sharp, more like there's a rose in front of your face. And this is like there's a rose in the vicinity. I imagine being in a boudoir makeup room of a woman in the like 1950s. And I don't mean that it's like powdery or makeup-y. I just mean that it's a little bit evocative and a little bit romantic of a scent. Dreams of days gone by. I think this color is actually a great way to describe the scent. It's not a bright pop of pink. It's not this shiny, sugary pink. It's this somewhat faded, heirloom, sentimental color. And it's not an old-fashioned scent. It's actually quite a modern rose. It has this evocative timelessness to it that I think is really pretty. And it also has some citrus notes in it, which I think add a little bit of playfulness. Okay, one of my favorite rose scents, and it's not even a scent where rose dominates, but it's just one of my favorite scents, is Relativemente Rosso by Bois 1920. This is a sublime, sweet, ambery, syrupy, incensey, deep, mysterious, powerful complex, aggressive, sugary, resinous, woody scent with rose in it. I've seen a couple comments saying this is a witchy scent, and I like that description of it. It makes you feel like a mysterious and powerful creature of darkness. It's dangerous and alluring. It's quite unisex, but it is very sweet. It is probably technically a gourmand. There's sugar in there. It's amber, vanilla, but it isn't sickly sweet to me. I could see it might be to some people, but is instead a sort of alluring and tempting sweetness rather than forcing the sweetness in your face. I'm really not usually a big fan of overpowering amber accords, like very like straightforward amber scents. But this one has so much going on that I just always want to smell it more. All of this being said, the rose is really not very dominant here. Some people do call this like a sugary, sweet rose scent, but to me, it's just that the rose is just part of this more complex whole, this cauldron of sweet spices and resins. It makes you want to be in a deep, dark wood, mixing up a witch's brew. It's a potion of a scent. But I can see how it wouldn't be to everybody's taste. It's a lot. It's a lot. You don't need a lot of this either. It's pretty powerful. I love this company, by the way. I never see it here. I saw it in Italy. I tried Duro Cafe there. I tried Comme l'Amour. Sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. Both of those scents, instantly new favorites. But this is the only one I was able to get here in the States for a reasonable price. So, and the bottle is so pretty. Okay, one more of my favorites that I want to mention is... No! I can't find the sample of it. Oh, it's over there. No! Okay. Rose Barbare by Guerlain. I just have a sample. This is a honey and rose scent. This has aldehydes in the opening, which I love. It's not an overwhelming aldehyde in the opening. It just sort of heralds the rise of the rose like a chorus of angels. And then once you get past that opening, it's like a rose dusted with honeyed powder. And there's a woody patchouli in there that you get even before the dry down. You can smell it. It's not too deep or dark. It's just a nice balance to the sweet rose. I don't think it's the most complex or interesting of Guerlain's line, but it's just a really nice, really pretty rose, and definitely one I would get my hands on if I could. Okay, my final favorite is, it's not probably in the same category in terms of classiness as Guerlain, but it's lasted the test of time. It is Elisabeth Arden Red Door. Now, I know this is it's not very stereotypically young, and some people call it screechy, headachy, but I personally love it. It's a floral aldehyde perfume, and I like that it smells not modern. I like that I feel like when I smell this, I'm smelling what ladies probably smelled like in the early 90s. I mean, I was alive, but I don't remember what people smelled like. And while it may not be like the stereotype of a complex niche perfume, it has a lot going on. It has a carnation, it has honey. It's an interesting and complex patchwork of different scents that create a image of a well put together lady in the early 90s, out on the town, maybe even going to a fancy dinner or the opera. To me, I'm getting hints of the opera, the scent of the opera, and I think that's because it reminds me of what my mom used to wear when she would go out with my dad on date nights to the opera, and then she would come back and she'd give us hugs and be like, "I'm home," and I would get a whiff of her perfume. This is not what she wore. She wore Giorgio Beverly Hills, which is a very different scent, but they're both late 80s, early 90s white floral scents. So I think that's what is happening there. So maybe I just like it because it has a sentimental profile. But I'd say even if you're young and, into more modern perfumes, give it a try. See if you like it. The dry down is also really pretty. It has a beautiful, tasty, sandalwood, musky dry down. I think it's a classic for a reason. And it's super affordable. Okay. I have others on my list. They're all honorable mentions. So let me know if you want me to do another rose video. I think the next video I'm going to do, if I get the samples I need, is a video on perfumes that are marketed towards men, but which I personally really like wearing and I think work well for your average female identifying customer. I'm having a lot of fun trying different men's perfumes, so that's my plan for the next video. But I have a lot of other rose scents that I could talk about. I would just need to get my paws on more samples. I am also planning a video on my favorite perfume for each note, and I have it down to like 35 notes, and I have a perfume for each. So I'm excited about that one. And then also my favorite perfume for every accord. Anyway, this was fun. Thank you for watching. Let me know if you have any recommendations for even better rose perfumes. There are some that I would put on this list of my absolute favorites, but I haven't tried them often enough or over a long enough period to be able to speak with authority on them, so they didn't make the cut. Okay, bye.